in this panel, what we're going to do is maybe dissect some of that data and get the point of view of some of the thought leaders in the industry. So we have a great panel today. I'll let everyone introduce themselves. But the panel's made up of a mix of people from agencies and some of the big tech companies that are going to be able to maybe dive in and give their POV on some of the data that we've seen when it comes to channel level growth. So I'll let all the esteemed panelists introduce themselves. I'm Chris Salome. I'm the Chief Digital Officer for Omnicom Media Group. But as Ian mentioned, my role today is I lead the Research and Measurement Committee. So first of all, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chris. And great to be here. Very quick one. My name is Duran Shahab. I am Head of Business Partnerships across MENA within TikTok.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm Huda. I'm the CEO for Havas Media.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, I'm Mohammed Aitani. I'm the Head of Agency and Development and Programmatic at Amazon Ads.
Thanks, Chris. My name is Sebastian. I lead our global partnerships team across the Middle East and Africa for Google.
All right, so the first question, and maybe we'll start from Joanne and work this way. This is a question to everyone. We've just seen the number, $5.8 billion. 5.5. My bad. Hey, what's 300 between friends, right? Anyway, starting off, is this what you expected?
Okay.
And were you surprised?
No, I think, to be honest with you, and Daniel mentioned a lot of these points already, this makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense in a year like 2022, when we've seen some of the key GCC markets like UAE, like Qatar, but most importantly, like KSA, venture into a lot of economic diversification and expansion plays, whether it's investment across travel and tourism and sports industries, or mega and giga projects, or even the IPs for tentpole events such as Expo and World Cup. When we look at all of those factors combined, we see that this growth for 2022 makes a lot of sense, but more importantly, this is the impetus for a longer-term investment and trend in the region that will hopefully continue to stimulate such growth and acceleration.
True. Actually, was I surprised? Were we surprised? I think digital ad spend has been growing year on year. We've seen about 350% growth since 2018. And that's really remarkable. And obviously, Daniel mentioned the real reasons, the big reasons behind that: World Cup, Expo, the launch of the mega projects in the region, but also the resurgence of sectors that have recovered after the pandemic, like the airlines and the tourism sectors. And those played an important role in the 20% that we see as an increase this year.
All right, so you left nothing for me, and good luck, Sebastian, and follow up on that. I read your notes, and we can't skip this question. All right, so actually, I'm a little bit underwhelmed with this number. I expected a higher growth. I expected something around 25.
Tough audience, right?
25%, yeah, exactly. I mean, all the reasons are true, but also we have to take into consideration the new channels that just launched in MENA over the past couple of years has also actually driven a lot of growth around that. GCC, we spoke a lot about that already. But again, I mean, I think other North African countries should contribute to a big growth. Socioeconomic, it's not helping a lot. But I expected a growth of around 25%. We've always been growing above 25% over the past year. So I mean, now with all of this and the new channels, I would have expected such a growth.
I think, yeah, I'm very positive, double-digit growth, especially leaping the COVID year of 2020. We did 26% then. To only reduce that by 6 percentage points was already said by Daniel. It's quite impressive, and it attests to what we're doing on a day-to-day. Everybody here in the room contributes to something that is seen valuable enough to invest more in, more of advertisers' money. So I'm very positive about this. We're consistent in our methodology year over year, and that's why we see this growth. I think the export component is a very interesting one, and I wonder how that weighs into the growth of the region as well.
Well, actually, we really need to acknowledge that the MENA that we're talking about is 16 different markets, and every market has its own nuances and it has its own uniqueness. And when we say, 300 plus million people, 100 million of those are in Egypt, where the internet penetration is only 40%. So this plays a very, very big role in those numbers. But also, I think, the entry cost in digital plays also a role. I know, for example, the CPM in Egypt is 80% cheaper than in the US and other markets, and this also plays a role. But I do agree that we still rely heavily on offline media and traditional media, and I think outdoor is a big player here, specifically because of the urban concentrations in specific areas. Like in the UAE, we have like 1 million different nationalities, so if you want to reach everybody, you just need to place one ad on Sheikh Zayed Road and you get like 80% reach. So I think this also, skews the numbers.
I think deep diving now into some of the insights that we saw, some of the really interesting stuff we saw focused on trends within channels. So the first thing I want to talk about, and for me the big story was the growth of social video. So Joanne, maybe you can, you work at TikTok, you have some insight, inside knowledge of this topic. Can you talk to us about, is this what you expected, and what can we expect? Where do you think this growth, and why this growth in social video?
So I think definitely when we saw the figures, especially for video social, which is close to 50% growth, it is a very high number. Now, if we actually take a step back and look at the audiences today, look at the fact that more than ever they are very critical, very fast-paced, very saturated, then it gives us a glimpse into why potentially video, and more specifically short-form format, is taking center stage, and why it's being so high in the growth that it's stimulating. The reality is that more than ever, this young population, this mobile-first population, really wants to consume snackable content on the go that they can access at whatever point in their day they're at. And they want to know the so what directly, so they can not waste their time and quickly understand whether it's relevant, engaging, and or entertaining enough for them. So this evolution in the consumption of content is what I see is driving the significant growth, and brands need to pay attention to that, because this is how to tap into those consumers. And if you couple that with another very interesting trend, which is that more and more we're seeing that audiences want to explore or discover personalized content, and they are very much leaning away from content that they perceive is commercial or that is being pushed against or onto them, then you really see why this is happening, because this video, short-form content is what they are inclined to go towards and what they are discovering and tapping into themselves versus what brands may want them to see or want them to react to.
Yeah, and it's encouraging, because usually we always get criticized as marketers that we lag behind where the eyeballs are, right? And
yes.
In this instance, we're seeing actually marketers are following the eyeballs at the pace of which growth in the channels are happening. Let me move on to a different topic, which is search. And Daniel looked at both the horizontal search, but vertical. It's never been, and it's still not the powerhouse it is in other regions. Search is not as big as it could be or maybe should be. Seb, maybe do you want to talk about, what do you take out of this, and what advice you give to marketers? Because there seems to be a lot of value still to be extracted from search.
Fair, thanks, and thanks for calling it a powerhouse. And I don't know if you saw that, but the mic was handed over by Mohammed to me. And I think that defines the difference between horizontal and vertical search, of course.
Play nice.
So yeah, I feel responsible for talking about search. I'm curious to see a head nods if I say that I think search is still central to always-on performance strategies. I think that remains that way. Thanks, Ryan. And in general, I think, yes, we are still a nascent market on some factors. We still see a lot of growth. And we do believe that growth comes from performance as well. For sure, we've seen now, and Joanne said it right, brand and video being very strong drivers of this growth. However, for Google search, when you zoom in a little bit just on us, I think we're moving as a region to the next stage of maturity. A lot more advertisers are very curious to see how they can get ROI, to see how they can drive profitability, was said by Daniel as well. Also, we will see more competition. We see global players, advertisers come to the auction and raise auction pressure. And we also see local advertisers being way more savvy around their data and measurement. So I think we're a bit at a pivotal point. I think we'll move to where the other markets are, slowly but steadily. Now that's all up until today. But looking forward, I'm not sure who was able to go to GML in Riyadh, but the kind of announcements that we made around search were impressive. It's going to be conversational. We're going to have more understanding of clients, and that's all coming forward. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, I invite you to watch Google I/O or Google Marketing Live. But yeah, with that, I'm bullish about search in the MENA region. Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool again, right? It's a cool channel, and I think the AI stuff is actually making it really interesting. But I think something that Dan mentioned was or Daniel, I should say, sorry, is the growth of vertical search. So, Mohammed, maybe you can talk a bit about that.
Yeah, sure. First, I want to thank you, Sebastian, for passing the mic back.
Jesus Christ.
We're all friends here,
We're
correct?
all members of the IAB here today, guys. Come on.
All right. I mean... all right.
Vertical
let
search.
me get my thoughts back. Yeah. All right. We spoke about search being vertical. Daniel spoke a lot about it as well. But search is not only about search engines. Now we're venturing into commerce. If you look at Amazon, search volume has been growing double year on year. Saudi Arabia has been fueling the growth on search and search volumes. And I think the common mistake that we do, that we bucket search in the lower funnel, and we assume that if you want a purchase or direct response, etc., search is the answer. But what we see from Amazon and from the search volume that we got, the brands are now looking at search also to build the full funnel, not only the lower funnel. So think about consideration, not only purchase. Only by doing that, I think there will be more search volumes. There will be more actually search budgets going into that. I think the number here could be better in terms of the search spend. And the future is bright, but we have to stop bucketing it into the lower funnel performance only and look at search as a full funnel approach from that standpoint.
Yes, please.
I want to ask a question. Do you think that the fact that it's, I think, a bit difficult to search in Arabic plays a role in this, and the search volumes are lower than other markets by any chance?
Actually, this is an interesting one. It's whether or not is the investment in search, paid search, behind the search volumes. So if that's the case, there's lots of value there. Or is it a case that we're not seeing as much in just pure search queries?
Yeah, I couldn't talk to that, to the volumes, but absolutely Arabic is a priority language. And I don't know if your personal experience, because I'm not Arabic, but is good on Google or not, because we do invest in Arabic language, absolutely.
Yeah. Moving away from the channels, there was something that was really, really interesting, which was the growth of brand. And you know, we're a video-first market, and I'm really proud of the fact that, you know, for our industry, that shows maturity. You know, one of the big issues with digital has always been, and it's actually led to a 10-year decline in overall ad effectiveness, that we were just so focused on short term, and a big part of that was a focus on performance and performance in digital. But in our market, it's a different picture. We're seeing a growth in brand. Huda, you work with lots of clients. You know, you have conversations with them. You talk to them about their investment strategy, long term versus short term. What was your takeout from that?
Well, I agree with you. It's good to see that the share of spend on brands has been increasing. It has increased this year. And I think this is driven mainly by the launches, the mega project launches that happened in the region, and which needed really to achieve high reach and build strong awareness before they could move to lower funnel and transactional activity. And but I want to say that performance media is consuming a very large share of the budgets, of the advertising budgets. And that's obviously long tail plays a big role. Small and medium-sized businesses cannot afford to any wastage, and they need to use performance media to attain very, quick gains. But we also see large brands, large players in the market that are focused on performance media and that have been focused on performance media, some of them for more than 4 to 8 years, without any spend on brands. And I think that's a little bit because obviously advertising, as you said, advertising spend and budgets are always an operational cost on the P&L, and there are, especially now after the pandemic, there are cost-cutting conversations, and really it navigates down to either performance or brand, where in fact it must be a balancing act. And we all know, from the studies around the world that, investing in a brand that invests in media, in advertising, and that maintains their investments, deliver better top line and bottom line. But unfortunately, we don't have local data, and that really pains us, as an agency. We don't have any local data to help CMOs and provide them with enough ammunition to stand up and defend their budget allocation in front of CFOs. But one thing before I finish on this, Meaningful Brands is a study, I'm sure a lot of people are aware, that we conduct on a yearly basis. And it says that if tomorrow 75% of brands disappear, no one would care. And consumers care about brands that not only deliver on the functional benefits, on the functional values, but and that can be addressed through performance media, but more so on the emotional and on the collective values. And this can only be achieved through brand building.
Great, thank you. Second to last question before the break. There's that expression, "May you live in interesting times." It's actually a curse, not a compliment. We're living in interesting times now, and the next 12 months is going to be even more so. We've seen a lot of the trends in spends. One of the interesting stats for me was the amount of spend on open exchange. This is all being disrupted, I should say. So you have ATT, iOS, privacy first, deprecation of cookie coming. All of that is the foundation that our industry has been built on. The technological foundation and architecture that our businesses run on to do targeting and measurement uses cookies. Without the ability to target and have addressable audiences, without the ability to measure media anymore, and have to look for alternative methods, how is that going to impact, you see, where clients spend their money? And Mohammed, maybe you can answer, because also one of the things that you do is you chair the Council on Emerging Channels, so there could be spends going there. So what's your take?
Yeah, first, is cookieless coming? Very soon.
Well, it's pretty much here. Right.
All right. So we got that. But I disagree with you on one point, that actually the foundation is not before even cookie targeting. There was demographic targeting. You could still target males 18 to 35 and so on. Cookie allowed us to be more targeted. But I think if we go back and we reminisce at that past, and venture into more aggressive, if you want, and more appealing targeting options like contextual targeting. I think it has taken the back seat for a while. I think it's now about time to take the front seat. ID++, personalization, signal-based marketing, all of these are the evolution of marketing. So if you want to look at the bright side of this, we've been prepping for cookieless and ID and iOS 14.5 for a while now, correct? So I think marketers, agencies, and ad tech are prepared and have plans in place to counter that and to really advance on that. But that can't happen without technology, and that cannot happen without investing in measurement technology. And I think everyone is preparing for that. We have, as Amazon, we have the solution. We have contextual targeting, search, retail media, as Daniel spoke earlier. It is also will take a huge drive moving forward. So I don't think the ad spend will be affected.
But maybe the channel mix?
Maybe the channel mix will be affected. Search, I think it will grow. I think programmatic will grow, but more first-party data-driven rather than third-party data.
And new formats.
And new formats, of course.
Okay. This is the last question to everyone. So fast forward 2023, we're sitting here. What are you predicting? Starting maybe with Joanne and moving that way.
So I think, naturally speaking, given everything that we've been discussing, on the one hand, it is a positive story. It will continue to be a positive story. If you look at any of the macro indicators, such as GDP, such as FDI, you know that it is very much a positive and green story, especially if you compare it with other markets and with other regions. I think the one element that is very interesting, though, and a shift that we've seen across MENA is that for the first time in a very long time, it's not about a regional excellence play. It's about a global expansion play. And this shift in strategy to go global is what I foresee will be a game changer. It's what makes it exciting and drive a lot of growth and a lot of acceleration from it. Now, that being said, I think it's very important to notice that not everyone will benefit from this, though the brands and the partners who will benefit from this are the ones that will be able to quickly fill the gap between the digital maturity that is still not where we want it to be versus the aspiration for digital transformation, not only across verticals, but more importantly across markets. So the ones who could fill that gap, with content naturally being a key to win, are the ones who will be able to capitalize from the anticipated growth the most.
Well, I agree. But I don't want to commit to a number in specific when you ask me, well, how much is the number going to be? But what I want to touch on is something that we didn't discuss at all, which is how much creative plays in the mix in driving key brand metrics. And I think we need to look at creative excellence, because this is what is going to increase ad recall. It's not the format. I believe it's not the channel mix, but it's really how we connect with the consumers on an emotional level, from content to creative. And I think this is something we need to look at maybe for the next IAB seminar. Note this down.
All right, so I look at it from country level. I think North Africa has a huge potential to grow. GC, I think we're doing quite well. The numbers are quite green on that front. So from country level, other regions has to pick up to grow digital. Second, new channels. So venturing into digital out of home is just an example. But also CTV will continue to grow. Retail media is a great opportunity. It's a big opportunity. I think what we need to do is to really define how to measure retail media for next year. I mean, at Amazon, we look at retail media by using shopper behavior signals to really target and reach audiences. So I think as IAB, we need to agree what is retail media and then how to measure it. But nevertheless, retail media will continue to grow, and I think it will be the biggest growing medium in 2023.
Seb, last but not least.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I agree with Joanne. I think the globalization element is very important. We won't see that next year if we don't change the methodology, which I don't think we will, but it might be an add-on. That's interesting,
The
of course.
export market.
The export, yeah, so the global side of things. Yeah, and I agree also connected TV, digital inside of home, right? I think we see YouTube grow fastest on that channel. That is really one of the growth drivers we expect also for the region. I think one of the things I found interesting in Daniel's presentation is the knock-on impact of one ad dollar spent versus economic impact. And I'm very curious because we have heavy public sector spending. I'm very curious if ever there was an exercise where you say, what's the knock-on effect of a public sector spend dollar on ad spend? Because I think the changes we've seen in last year's events and the mega projects in Saudi really created something structural for the region. Besides tourism, but I think a faith in digital advertising that hopefully we can bank on and see good years good numbers next year as well. Thanks.
Right. Well, thank you very much to all the panelists. Thank you to Daniel.